Folks get to the room at the bottom of the stairs, just quickly move all the way in so we don't clog the doorway. When you folks get to the room at the bottom of the stairs, quickly move all the way in so we don't clog the door. When you folks get to the room at the bottom of the stairs, just quickly move all the way in so we don't clog the doorway.
You don't have a microphone?
Not a good one.
Okay, so for those of you who did not meet me in the elevator, my name is Derek. I'm going to be showing you around. We're going to get started with some background information about the construction. When they were building the dam, the workers were taking shifts. At every hour of the day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year round, they had roughly 3,500 people on site. And the only days off anybody ever got were Christmas and Independence Day. Other than that, every single person worked all 7 days. That sucks. It was really bad when it was 130 degrees outside. Building the dam wasn't just labor intensive, it was complicated. The first part of the process required the workers to move the Colorado River. You can't build a dam like this when there's water going through the construction zone. So the workers blasted 4 diversion tunnels through the canyon walls, 2 on either side of the river. They averaged 3/4 of a mile in length each. Now we are currently standing right there inside one of the tunnels. Next, the workers built 2 earthen dams, or coffer dams, here and here. Now, once all that loose dirt and the rocks were piled on top of each other, it caused the river to rise to the level of the tunnels. Water was forced through and around the dam site, left a half a mile of empty riverbed. Then came the grueling task of building Hoover Dam itself. In just under 2 years, they poured 3.25 million cubic yards of concrete. Once Hoover Dam was completed, this lower coffer dam was removed. 3 of the 4 diversion tunnels were sealed where you see the yellow, but the 4th one was left open. It allowed a minimal amount of water to continue downstream, but it constricted it enough to cause the river to keep rising and form Lake Mead. Now, once the lake was full, the 4th tunnel was sealed as well. Now that the upper parts of the tunnels are sealed, the way we get water from the lake to the river is through these 4 round towers, or intake towers. At the bottom of each is a single pipe which is 30 feet in diameter. Some of those pipes were placed through the old diversion tunnels. You can see one right outside the window over here. Each pipe can push through 96,000 gallons of water per second. That's enough to fill an Olympic-sized swimming pool in less than 7 seconds. Per pipe, there's 4 pipes. Now those pipes branch off and descend to the power plant. It's the water coming from those that spins the turbines and allows the generators to produce electricity. Afterwards, it'll churn up into the river at the base of the dam. Now we do have an alternative method for getting water around the dam. That would be our spillways. The workers connected those to the top of the outer diversion tunnels. You'll recall the tunnels were sealed where you see the yellow, but from the spillways down, the outer ones are still open. If the lake ever gets super high, like during a flood, water will automatically go into the spillways. It'll pour down the tunnels and it'll spit out the other side of the canyon. Now that's for emergencies only. It's a last-ditch effort. We never want to use those. But we have been forced to use the spillways twice. Once was in 1941 when they were first tested, so that was on purpose. The other was in 1983. It was the biggest flood since the dam was built. The lake temporarily came to within 7 feet of the top of the dam. You can imagine how much worse it would have been had the engineers not had the foresight to install the spillways. Who knows, water could have gone over the top of the dam, damaged the power plant. You know what? I want to take you folks to the power plant right now. I'm going to exit first, everybody else right behind me. Excuse me, sorry. All right, let's head this way. So I'm going to take a minute and tell you folks about some timeshares we offer. I've got to where I want you to.
That's hilarious.
So you'll recall it was a long elevator ride to get down here. This one's much longer. You know how high the Eiffel Tower is in Paris? So imagine... never mind, we're here.
So how did your daughter feel about that?
She's okay with it. She was wanting to do it. Yeah, she was wanting to go.
southern Nevada. 17 generators make our energy. There are 8 in this room and another 9 over on the Arizona side of the plant. Each generator can power 65,000 homes. That's 130 megawatts each. These things are pretty large. You're seeing the top 30 feet. There's another 40 feet beneath the surface of the floor. These are so big, some of them required 60 railroad cars of parts to construct. And if you look down there at the floor, you can see the railroad tracks where they brought the parts in. When they were unloading the parts and constructing the generators, some of the tools they used included that pair of green bridges up there on the ceiling, and hanging underneath are some crane hooks. These bridge cranes slide back and forth on tracks for the entire length of the room. We still use these for maintenance. Each bridge crane can lift 300 tons. You know, the Statue of Liberty only weighs 225 tons. Why the heck do we need 2 of these? Well, to give you an idea, there are individual pieces, single parts in the generators that weigh almost 600 tons. You think that's a lot? The dam weighs 6.6 million tons. Now the dam sits behind that wall. At its base, its lowest point, the dam is 660 feet thick. Yes, I know, we have a lot of 6s. And to give you an idea of how thick the dam is, look at the space between that wall and the wall on the far side of the room. That huge space is 10 feet shorter than the thickness of the dam. From its bottom to its top, the dam is over 726 feet tall. Now, all of these little statistics should get across a very basic point. We've got a lot of concrete. And concrete is a combination of cement and aggregate. Aggregate is just rocks or gravel. The aggregate was local, they brought it in from a couple miles away. But the cement was shipped here by rail from various states. Quite a bit of it came from California. Now, they didn't just use cement when mixing the concrete. They also used it for the floor that you're standing on. This stuff is called terrazzo marble. Basically, you take a bunch of marble chips, mix it with cement, lay it down, grind it a bunch of times, and polish it. They finished installing this in 1937, the same year we started giving tours. In the entire facility, this occupies 121,000 square feet of space. It's nearly 4 inches thick. When it was put here, it cost a whopping $59,000. Now, you may have noticed the inlays. These 2 large black and white patterns in the floor. These were designed by an artist named Mr. True had a large collection of Native American artifacts and artwork. Some of it was from his own day in the early 1900s, but some of it spanned back thousands of years. He decided to synthesize those patterns into these designs. There are dozens of these on site, and they all typify southwestern Native American culture. And these were put here, among other reasons, because we wanted guests like yourself to have something pretty to look at when we came to take a tour. I do appreciate the fact that you folks dropped by to take my tour. It means a lot that you visited. At this point, I need those of you with the red, white, and blue wristbands that have a little American flag on them to raise your hands. Go with Dan out that door right now. Go. If you do not have a wristband, do not go anywhere. You are staying with me. As soon as we make sure Dan has everybody he needs, I am going to exit through that door, and the rest of you will follow behind.
chance to introduce myself to you. So what we're going to do here now is what is called the dam tour, which is where we actually go inside of the dam. That's why we separated you from those folks over there. They're just doing the power plant. You guys are kind of going on the extended version right here. So just to kind of point out what we're going to be looking at right now is we're going to be looking at what we call the inspection tunnels, which we use for inspections, and then also the ventilation tunnels, which we use for ventilation. Right? So very, very clever names here at the Hoover Dam. However, Hoover Dam as a whole has had a little bit of weird history with names, so I just want to go over that for a little bit. So we are in the Hoover Dam, which is inside of Black Canyon, which is just a little bit of ways from Boulder City. So three weird things going on there. The reason for this is that when the dam was originally going to be built, it was going to be up in Boulder Canyon, about 11 miles north of here. However, they did some surveying and said, you know what, Black Canyon is a little bit better suited for that. There's some fall lines we're a little bit concerned with in Boulder Canyon, so they moved the project down here. However, the name Boulder Canyon Project or the Boulder Dam already started to gain a little bit of speed. So the first couple years of the project, they just referred to it as the Boulder Canyon Project or the Boulder Dam, even though technically we were in Black Canyon. Boulder City also named in conjunction with that. Why then it is now the Hoover Dam? That is named after President Herbert Hoover. That also gets a little strange because he was not the president when the dam opened up. He was actually the Secretary of Commerce when the dam got started, and so again, for his sort of earlier work, they named it in honor of him. Now, if you remember that movie that you guys watched at the beginning of your tour here, you saw that President Roosevelt referred to it as the Boulder Dam when he was opening it up. That one was just basic politics at play. Roosevelt did not like Hoover at all, so he refused to give him any credit whatsoever. So he just didn't want to give him any sort of credit on that one. Now, then in 1947, Congress said, listen guys, there's just way too much confusion going on. Boulder Dam, Hoover Dam, Boulder Dam, Hoover Dam. We're just going to go ahead and officially call it the Hoover Dam, and that is the end of the story. I, however, do not think it is the end of the story. I'm thinking about going into politics later in life. Maybe it'll be renamed the Dan Dam. I don't know. I have another theory that maybe Amazon's going to come in. They're going to buy the whole thing. It's going to be the Amazon Prime Dam. But until that happens, we're just going to go ahead and stick with the Hoover Dam. Now, a little bit more on names over here. I actually want you to check out this picture. This is of Black Canyon in 1922, before the dam got started, to give you a little bit of an idea of sort of what the natural water level looks like. When you guys get up to the top, you're going to notice you have the lake level, and then you've got that white line. You may have already seen that out there. That is from the 1983 flood, the high water mark line. That's not sort of where we want it, not the average at all. It's a little bit sort of concerning when it gets up that high. We want it in the middle. But again, this picture over here, again, sort of shows you what the natural level would have looked like had we not built the dam. A couple other fun things to point out in here. I find this really, really fun. The floors, I love these floors. These floors are actually really cool. So Derek mentioned a little bit about the floors over here, about how it's sort of a composite of different materials, sort of mixed in with a little bit of concrete. The cool thing about this is that these floors actually represent one of the other missions of the Hoover Dam. So in addition to flood control and water storage and power production, the dam was built sort of as a way to lift up the American spirit. So the building was conducted during the Great Depression, and at that time, folks in America were really down on their luck and they didn't have really high morale. So what the builders of the dam did to sort of improve morale was have every state in America contribute a little bit of something to the production of the dam. So that way at the end of the project, America could feel unified and sort of collectively proud about what we all accomplished. Also, by buying materials from every different state, it helps stimulate the local economy. The floors are actually made of materials brought in from Georgia, New Hampshire, and New Mexico. So every state contributed, which is kind of cool. When you are done with this portion of the tour, you can go up to the original exhibit building. In there, there's a list of what every state contributed. So you kind of go home and look up your state, kind of figure out what you guys gave for a little fun fact when you get back home. Other really cool thing is workers came from every state in America as well too. Again, during the Depression, no other jobs. Is anybody here from Delaware? Nobody from Delaware? Delaware contributed one worker to the project. So one guy from Delaware showed up. I guess they figured they're the first state. They can just kind of phone it in for the rest of history, but at least someone from Delaware did show up. Other kind of cool things about this, I actually grew up in Las Vegas, so the Hoover Dam for me was just that place you took friends and family to when they came to visit. I didn't really realize until I started working here the local impact the dam had on my hometown. What I mean by that is when the workers were building the dam here, they lived up in Boulder City because Las Vegas didn't have the housing necessary to house all the workers. So the federal government built in Boulder City just for the workers to live in, which is kind of cool. You know, they got free housing and then churches, roads, schools, everything that you would need. The downside was because it was run by the federal government, there were a lot of rules, including no drinking and no gambling. So you got all these workers getting pretty decent wages by Depression era standards with no place to spend their money. So what do? They go up to Vegas and they spend it up there. After a few months of this, the club owners in Vegas realize, wow, we're getting a lot of money coming in. Let's kind of do something with this. So they open up more bars and more casinos, more clubs, and basically turned it into what we now know of today. So it had a kind of cool direct impact as well too. So we're gonna head in this tunnel in 1 second, guys. There's a little bit of gap from where the power plant ends and where the dam begins. So as we go through, I'll kind of announce it so you know when you're in the dam itself. All right, guys, follow me this way. So you guys are still technically in the power plant right now.
What's up?
And roughly,
Now you're in the dam.
you're in the dam, and he's in the dam, and Spider-Man is in the dam, Blue Shirt is in the dam. That taken away from one to take pictures is not in the dam yet. Right out here. Alrighty guys, so we are all now fully inside of the dam. What I mean by that is we're not underwater, we're not underground anymore, we're actually under about 500 feet of concrete, still another 200 below us, completely surrounded by the concrete of the dam, so it's very unlikely you're going to get cell reception in here. We are also in one of two tunnels that run sort of perpendicular to the dam, so if you imagine the curve of the dam, we're sort of running this way right here. We have one on the Arizona side that's identical to this. Now this tunnel is mainly used nowadays for the tour that you guys are on, and then also allowing workers to get down to the power plant. However, from the 1930s up to about 95, 96, this was the only tour route that we had. You would buy your tickets up on the top of the dam, come down the elevators, head on that way for your tour. That's why this is kind of the show tunnel here. We got the nice flooring, the tile, and the subway style lights over there. Then at about the mid 80s or so, we realized that we do not have the ability to keep up with demand for visitors, so we redid our entire tourism operation, built a visitor center, parking garage, and those large elevators that we rode down in on. Now how that affects you guys today is the elevators we're going to ride in on in a little bit are actually a lot smaller than the two that we have at the beginning of the tour. So I'm going to break you guys up in about two different groups, 15 and 15. I'm going to go with half you guys, Kama's going to ride up with the other half you guys. We're all going to meet up at our next stops. Now the next two places that we're going to are again going to be the inspection tunnels used for inspections, and then also ventilation tunnels used for ventilation, exactly. These two tunnels are much different look and feel than the one that we are in right now. Again, this is kind of the nice one. The two that we're going to, dark gray concrete, really more of an industrial look and feel to it. You're really going to more feel like you are inside the dam when we get there. Also, just a couple safety things to point out. There's a couple tripping hazards, so just kind of watch where you're walking, and it's a little bit smaller in there too. You're probably going to be okay. You're definitely going to have to duck, so just watch out for that when you get in there. 5'11" is about the height. Other couple things, there's places that you can probably drop your phone. Please don't do that. I'm not even joking about this. About a month ago, I had a gentleman on my tour when he was up there. He went to go take a picture. He dropped his phone down a shaft we have down there. He had it in one of those cases where he has his phone, his wallet, his credit cards, everything. Dropped the entire thing down there, lost it all. It's a confined space, so we are not allowed to go down there and get it. If you have a strong enough flashlight, you can still see his credit cards down there. So please don't drop your stuff, because if you do drop your stuff, I will definitely make fun of you on my next tour. All right, guys, so first 15 head in the elevator. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. All right, guys, so Tom's going to take you up for the next round. This is Tom.
How you doing? I'm better. get into the elevator, we'll go halfway up the dam. I'll lock the door open. You step out of the elevator, go right, and then go right again and go down that vent that he mentioned. Go down to the end, watch your step, bend if you're over 5'10". Take a picture or two, come back up, and we'll talk to you back up at the end. There you go, fill her up. And here we go. There you go.
Right down this way, guys. You can take your pictures and then come on back. Bye. Bye.
Yeah. That's good.
Should be on.
This is date code 41.
What, Brian? Oh, probably the date.
Yeah.
Looks like it is one today. There's a date right there. Look, this Great Depression was 32 and 34.
Oh.
Those days.
What did you say? He did teach you how to do it.
I think it's where he dropped his wallet.
Wow. It's kind of scary to walk over.
Yeah.
It's quite neat for a dam tour, huh? A lot different from what we've ever seen.
So the next place that we're going to be heading to is what we call the Stairway to Heaven. It is our emergency staircase system in case anything happens with these elevators over here. Once you see these, it will really give you an idea of just how big the dam actually is. It starts off kind of a little bit below where we were, follows the curve of the dam around, goes all the way up to the top. We get you out a little bit closer to the visitor center than the top itself. We're not going up there, so a little fear in your eyes right there. We're just going to be looking at these. When you do look up on those, it kind of looks like it's going off just into infinity. That's why we give it the name Stairway to Heaven. It has nothing to do with the Led Zeppelin song. Everybody go to the pictures back there?
Yes.
All right, cool. So just
Oh my God, I was so upset.
We good? You head down this way, take some pictures, come on back.
George just kicked the orange block of cement.
Go in front of me.
Okay. Security. Take a step this way for me, guys. Just kind of hang it right here for me, please. Thank you so much.
Francis rudder turbines. And you got one little separate one there.
Just gonna hang right over here for me, guys. Thanks so much.
You ever climbed those stairs?
I have not me personally. A couple other folks who have tried it. I think it took about 45 minutes from the top to bottom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. It's around 721, 722. Once you get past 700, you just kind of round.
That's why it's an hour tour. 45 minutes.
You're almost thinking you.
Yeah, that's pretty deep.
You'll never notice.
Honestly, I think,
We're out in Columbia. And we don't need all of our stuff
That's a-
compared to anything you got.
Yeah.
It's a piece of cake and then you
Columbia's
go,
in,
oh my God.
Washington State?
Oregon, Washington.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, we got Green Coulee up in central Washington. Yeah.
We've been down,
Well, serious quake sensor, don't
down
forget.
Bonneville Dam. We should need your flashlight for that one.
So that's what you do on your lunch break, just do some exercise.
Body by Hoover.
There it is.
Yeah.
Hay sách này, chị gặp lắm rồi không luôn. Chị gặp lắm nha.
So this is one sensors. They're testing for like concrete strength, temperature, that type of thing. Right now, there's nothing behind those, just an empty box. I however did not know that one of my first tours. So like, hey guys, have any sensors over the boxes on the back? Right? Yeah. Yeah, like. We're up this way. There's a couple little doors on the downward side, so that way if you do fall down, you don't go all the way back down. However, those were not original, so you gotta wonder, it's not roll all the way back down. And there's parts of it that are spiral staircase, other parts that were 55 degrees, more like a ladder. I don't know.
I didn't do right for that.
That would have been like awesome.
Yeah.
Any people died in the building of the dam?
Absolutely, yeah, 96 workers is the official death toll. A couple different ways. So it's actually, the death thing here is a little bit weird because in order to be counted, you had to die on the property. So if you died in Boulder City later on from an injury or illness you sustained here, you were not counted. The main reason for that is the insurance companies only wanted to pay out when they absolutely had to. So what happens was quite often you get carbon monoxide poisoning from those buildings, tunnels where Derek showed you. You go to the doctor says it's pneumonia, it's not work related, he doesn't have to pay it out. Doctor coincidentally works for the same people that the insurance company do, so there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on. So the folks that did die here, most of it was irregular industrial accidents, you falling, things falling on you, a couple drownings from the surveyors in the early stages. Big killers though were dehydration and heat. Because again, they were building this year round, they only got 2 days off, and in the summertime here in Las Vegas, it can get up to about 115, in the canyon even hotter. And again, there was no OSHA just to make sure that people were taking rests, getting hydrated. So people just dropped all the time. Because again, workers are coming from all different parts of the country. You get somebody from New England who's not really acclimated to the heat, they're not going to last very long here. So the official number is 96 workers. And a dog. A dog died here too. All right, guys. Everybody cool down there? Okay, so
Sounds, I know what they are.
we do have some ghost stories here. I've never seen it, but a couple other tour guides have been around, seen some weird things. So we got this box over here. A couple of you guys have mentioned about it, so I'll speak to it. It says, do not touch or kick the earthquake sensor. First of all, please do not touch or kick the earthquake sensor. Secondly, you're wondering, why is there an earthquake sensor in this big concrete tunnel that we're in right now, Dan? So I mentioned that Boulder Canyon was going to be the original location of the dam, but they moved it here to Black Canyon. One of the reasons was the rock was a little bit better, but also there are some fault lines in Boulder Canyon they were a little bit too concerned with. However, they do still get little seismic activity here in Black Canyon, so we have these sensors to monitor for that. Now, knowing this, when they built the dam that they're gonna have to worry about it, they did a couple cool things to mitigate any possible damage. One thing is they overbuilt the dam by a lot. It is a lot bigger and stronger than it absolutely has to be, again, to sort of prolong the life of the dam. Second thing, there is no reinforced steel in the dam either. It's just kind of all being held together by the actual weight of the dam, keeps it down, and the water pressure presses it into the canyon. It's kind of wedged into place. The idea from what they tell me about that is that there is a major earthquake here. It shimmies a little bit more smoothly rather than a rigid shaking. Also, if there's any cracks in one section, it does not easily transfer over to the other section, again, to prolong the life of the dam. Some estimates say the dam could withstand maybe about an 8.1 or an 8.2 size earthquake. So if you remember, what of that movie, was it San Andreas with The Rock and Paul Giamatti, you know, the end of the world, the dam crumbles, Paul Giamatti starts freaking out. That would never happen. Paul Giamatti might freak out, I don't know, I've never met him, but the dam would still be good to go. Again, this is probably one of the safest places you want to be in an earthquake. The power plant, however, not as well designed for that. In the 1950s, there was a smaller earthquake. It sustained a little bit of damage to the flooring that you guys saw in there, those cracks going through during Derek's presentation. That again was from that smaller earthquake that we had. Other kind of cool thing about the dam is that it's also sort of designed to have sort of really very little human interaction if absolutely necessary. The spillways that we use in case of major flooding are designed to have nobody operate them. Water just goes into some vents trip some levers move some weights, large steel doors raise up automatically, again to sort of control the flow of water. Power plant similarly designed, so basically if everybody here at Hoover Dam just says, we don't want to work here anymore, we all leave, as long as the last person out leaves the valves open, water's just going to go in, it's going to go into the generators, it's going to keep producing power, and it's going to keep doing its own thing. So if there is any sort of end of the world scenario, zombie apocalypse or whatnot, the dam is going to be fine. Zombies are going to have all the power they need to do whatever zombies need power for, I guess. I was watching Walking Dead last night, so I got zombies on the brain. Get it? Zombies on the brain. Zombies on the brain. All right, guys. Everybody got the pictures down here?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to slide up this way again. Let's go a little bit closer. All right, guys, so I mentioned down there that we are pretty well insulated against any natural disasters, be they earthquakes or zombies or whatnot. However, we do still have to worry about a man-made threat, specifically terrorism. If you guys were on the tour prior to 9/11, you know that the route is a little bit different. Some of our procedures have changed. We had to do that after 9/11. So a couple months after 9/11, we sort of revamped our entire security procedures here. One of the big main takeaways from that was we opened that bridge that you guys saw out there, the Michael Callahan, Pat Tillman Bridge. Prior to 9/11, the top of the dam was how you would get down from Vegas to Phoenix. It was Highway 93. Then they said after 9/11, you know what, we cannot have tractor trailer trucks driving across the dam, too big of a security threat, so they sped up construction of that bridge. The bridge actually originated the idea for it in the Reagan administration, but it kind of kept stalling. They got that open in 2010. Other takeaways, we used to give you a little bit more access, that kind of stuff, so we kind of had to balance security with also giving you guys a good tour. This, however, was not the first time that we had to shut down operations based on a security concern. Any guess when the first time was? No, it was World War II. So in World War II, we had a very more specific threat that we faced here. In the years leading up to the war, the folks here at the Hoover Dam kept calling up Washington, D.C. and saying, listen, you guys really need to send us some troops to guard the place. This is going to be vital for the war effort. Washington, D.C.'s response was to send 2 federal agents down here. We got 2 guys, so that's a start. Then the beginning years of the war, we got a little bit more information. The Mexican embassy had called our State Department in D.C. and said, listen, we just apprehended some Nazi agents in Mexico that were plotting to attack your Hoover Dam. This is a plot they had. These agents are going to come to Las Vegas, rent a fishing boat from a local marina, fill that boat with explosives, and blow up our intake towers. They knew they couldn't blow up the dam, it was way too big, but they could still do damage if they hit the towers. The reason they chose Hoover Dam as their target was the power being produced here at that time was going to factories in Southern California. Those factories were building the bombers that were going to the war. So they actually thought they could stop the bombers by stopping the factories, by stopping the power. Thankfully, they were apprehended and the plot was never carried out. As a result, they decided to go through a couple different ideas about how best to protect the dam. 3 ideas they thought about doing but did not do. One of them was a series of nets was going to cover all of Lake Mead. So if any enemy aircraft made it this far and dropped any ordnance, so it kind of get caught up in the net, not drift or bounce into the dam. Second idea they were thinking about was building a concrete enclosure over the dam to protect it. Third one, lie detector test, all right. Third one, they were honestly, this is great, they were going to repaint the entire dam and the emergency spillways to blend in and camouflage to the natural environment, it's even better, and then build a 3/4 size model of the dam downriver. So again, if any enemy aircraft made this far, they would bomb the model and not the actual dam. Thankfully, they went with a more traditional approach, which was to shut down all public tours. Military escorts were required for the employees, and they did eventually station soldiers here. They housed them in the original exhibit building. Other cool thing they did is put machine gun bunkers all over the canyon to guard against aircraft. This was after Pearl Harbor. Once the war was over, they tore most of them down, but they left one of them up just kind of for history's sake. You can still see it up on the Arizona side. So when you get back up at the top, look towards the Arizona mountains, in between the power poles is a small building, looks like a machine gun bunker. That is a machine gun bunker. Now there were staffed Army sharpshooters and machine gunners during the war, but they were never really used. There was never an aerial threat made against the dam. The closest that came to it, though, was one plane did decide to buzz the dam a little bit over 500 feet. They did not fire upon it, thankfully, because afterwards they found out it wasn't enemy aircraft at all. It was General George S. Patton taking a tour. He just didn't tell anybody. Yeah, that's what Patton did, I guess. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and conclude the tour right now. A couple of things to point out. Check out the original exhibit building in there. Again, look at that state list so you can find what your state contributed to the project. And if you didn't have time to check out the movie before your tour, you guys can go back into the visitor center to show the wristbands and they'll get you right where you need to go. All right, guys, we're going to split you again. We'll start over here. 1 and 2. Round it up one, please. And we'll do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, we'll do 13, and then 14, 15. All right, guys. And thank you very much for coming. If you have any last questions at all, go ahead and ask Tom. He's way smarter than I am, so pick his brain for the next couple seconds. Thanks, guys.
So did you say there's more to it that we could do?
Things about the end. We're going to the visitor center.
All right, guys, let's see what other fun things can I point out. So again, your tickets will get you back into the new visitor center. Again, if you didn't have time for that, check out the museum. A lot more information in there, and also our observation deck is on the top floor of the museum. Really great place to take really cool pictures or lose your hats. Not joking about this. You get up there, you look over the site, covered in hats, just completely covered in hats. It's amazing. Some really old ones too. I think I saw like a Clinton Gore hat from us up there. Montreal Expos. I mean, like a lot of old hats. It's kind of cool. Go into the new visitor center for that. Original exhibit building has a presentation we give in there. It's about 10 minutes, tells you a little bit about the geography of the area. The presentation itself is really cool because it was built in the 30s, hasn't been updated since the 60s, so it's got a very nostalgic Americana feel to it. So if you like architecture, the building alone is definitely worth checking out. Runs every 10 to 15 minutes. And then also you can just get on a walk around the property basically until the sun goes down. Not gonna have to worry about that since the morning tour. And if you also want to, you can walk across the Mike O'Callahan-Pat Tillman Bridge. That's best to do on your way out because you have to get back in your car and repark your car. There's gonna be a small sign that says Memorial Bridge Plaza, repark in there, it's free to repark, walk across, really cool views. A little bit terrifying at first because you have a 800-foot drop on one side of you and a highway on the other, again where the tractor trailer trucks are, but then after about a couple minutes you get this nice zen that comes over you and you're like, everything's wonderful.
I know, I was
And with new history here. No, the last time, he was looking with Super Bowl. So it'll be here. It'll be here for you.
more focused on the Clippers.
Exactly.
It's okay, you're playing with your Cowboys fan. So we're gonna overhaul
That's like prehistoric, isn't it?
What's up?
People commit suicide at the dam?
Yes. So that does happen. They don't make those numbers publicly available because they don't want someone to be the 1,000th person to do it. But it does unfortunately happen. In fact, about 6 months ago, there was an attempt, but our security was able to get to them in time to talk them down. But it does happen, yeah.
十1點4聲嘅頭就望一望你頭。
28, 29, and 30. Alrighty guys, so just one last thing. I want to say thank you very much for coming to see us today. We do know you have a choice of hydroelectric power plants to choose from, so thank you for choosing ours. I seriously want to say thanks though because we are a federal agency, but we are unique in that we do not get any of our funding from U.S. tax dollars. We get it entirely from selling electricity and then your ticket sales. So our daily operating costs, any maintenance, upkeep, my salary comes from those two sources. So thank you for buying a ticket. You're helping me pay off my student loans. Super, super appreciate that. When you get out there, guys, you have two different options. If you take a right, that will take you to the Nevada-Arizona state border. Also a memorabilia stand, and then to the left to take you back to all the exhibits.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Actually, let me just sneak in front of you guys here. Grab the door for you. All right. All right, guys, come on out. Come on, guys. Have a great day. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming, guys. Thanks, guys. Have a good one, folks. Take care, guys. Thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for coming. You are, yeah. Thanks so much, sir. Thanks, guys. Have a good one, folks. You okay with this one?
Oh, where I am. Huh?
Sandy.